So today I'm doing a live Q&A on Facebook, and our first one has just come in from Deborah. So how do you allow your spouse in intimately when you have a tendency to put up walls when we've been married for 20 years? So how do you let a spouse in, I guess, when you've been having a tendency to put up these walls? So it's a great question, Deborah. So let's go for it. The whole idea is to consider what the reason is to put up walls. I mean, when you think about it, just like we always speak in metaphors, and if we're putting up a wall, we're trying to ultimately be safe, trying to be protected from what might happen if we let down those walls. So it's a great intention for you to actually be running that behavior because, of course, you don't want to get hurt. But is it actually hurting you more now and also in the long run by having those walls up? Because obviously that's not very good for relationships. So what you have to do is begin to consider in your mind, how can you be safe whilst also letting people in your life? So where it be in a relationship, where it be friends and so on like that, I want you to consider how you can actually be safe. So it could be starting off small. What small things can you do today? Because sometimes if we go, I'm going to let out everything, or I'm going to let down all my walls, that is a very scary thing for many people. It can be something which is too big. So what I always suggest is to make things smaller. Because if it's too much of a bigger leap, that wall's definitely going to stay there. So what can you do today to let your partner, your friends, your family members, depending on the context? I know that the question here was more about relationships, but it really goes for everything. What can you do which is smaller? That if you begin to let that person in that little bit, let down those walls, how would that allow you to feel that bit more comfortable? So not too big, but just a little bit. And you begin to then expand upon it. You begin to think, my end goal is to be able to be vulnerable, because there's lots of beauty in being vulnerable. It's a sacred thing to allow someone into your life like that and be like that. So I would definitely start small and then start to really build things up. That's what I do when it comes to letting go of the walls. And also realize, as I said, it's a safety mechanism. So ask your unconscious mind, how can I be safe in different ways? If you can be safe in different ways, that's going to be really, really helpful. Okay, so let's go ahead. I've got another one right here. I just saw it. So hey, Colleen. Hey, Monica. Hey, Jamie. Tips for insomnia from Monica. So I've got some great audios for that. So I've got my insomnia title on my app, and also I've got if you go to josephclough.info, I've actually got a nighttime hypnosis session there, which is going to be really helpful. And also if you join up I've got loads of things for insomnia. I mean, I put people to sleep pretty quickly. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing sometimes, but go to josephclough.info/heyhouse and you'll be able to get my nighttime transformations, which you listen to as you go to sleep. So that's going to be really, really helpful there. But the other thing you can do when it comes to going to sleep is usually by changing the dialogue that we're speaking. When you think about it, insomnia is ultimately your brain's not shutting down to go to sleep, which usually means that we are overthinking. We're thinking about too many things, which is keeping us up at night, or your internal dialogue is too loud or too fast or just too much in general. So what I always do when I want to put myself to sleep is I try to think in a boring way. And it sounds very weird, but imagine as if you were talking to yourself or thinking in the most slowest, most boring, maybe that wasn't boring, but you know what I mean, just kind of bring the tone down and being really, really quiet. The other thing that I learned a while ago was all about breathing to go to sleep. And it was something like this. You might have to, I've disconnected from, here we go, I'm back again. So I learned a technique about breathing. I can't quite remember what it is, but type in breathing technique for sleep. And it's really something like you breathe in for 3 and then you breathe out for 4 and then you hold it for 3 and then you breathe in for 3. And you just keep on repeating that. And that actually gets your mind in sync and also biologically to be able to go to sleep that bit more as well. So that's going to be really helpful. Okay, so Wanda says, I've tried many ways of finding my why. And by why here, we're really on about like the motivation and the drive. That's what I'm going to guess. So how can I narrow it down when so many things are equally important? That's a great question. So what I would do is focus on one or two of those things. So many people get in this mindset where they have all these big goals they want to achieve, or there are lots of things they want to do. But quite frankly, it's just not always that easy because we only have so much energy to be able to expend. So ultimately, if you've got too many things on your plate, everything else will suffer. So I would go ahead and choose the one which feels more congruent with you, one which makes you feel better. And they may all feel better, but I would definitely go down the route of choosing one or two things and having that in the forefront of your mind. So when I'm working right now, I've been focused on 2 tasks. So that's all I've been doing today, just 2 tasks. One is my emails, like catching up on my emails. I've been doing that throughout the day. And the other one is making some changes to my website and like just kind of setting up some functional things going there. And that was my goal in that way. And we can expand that out to the big things in our life as well. If you want to get lots of money, then it might not be the best time to also get into a relationship. Maybe get the money first or get the career first and then focus on the relationship. Or if you want to lose weight and also you want to get a better career, sometimes one of them will have to be slightly less. So I would turn some back, like narrow it back, knowing that you can come back to them, and then choose the 1 or 2 things which is going to be important. So Sherry, I didn't actually get the message yet. I will keep scrolling down in case you get it. How do you stay passionate about your job but stop it from taking over your life? Well, that is a great question. And it's something that I actually struggle with sometimes because I love my job. But one of the biggest things I've realized is that no matter what you love, you can always do more of it tomorrow. Think about it. I love going out for a run, but if I ran every hour or every 2 hours, then I'm actually going to injure myself. So what I can do there, I think, okay, I'm going to go for a run and then tomorrow I'm going to go for a run. So it's about kind of pacing yourself really and realizing that you can always do more tomorrow. Yeah, you might want to invest more time at certain times, like sometimes I have busy times, but I make up for that as best as I can. But I would definitely always have the mindset for me, which is there's always more I can do tomorrow. So I can actually work tomorrow. There's no problems. Nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to work tomorrow, which then creates a certain lifestyle or balance. I know it's very tricky. Like I said, I find that tricky sometimes as well, but it's one of those things that you have to just consider in your mind that there's always more time to be able to keep doing what you do, but just spaced out. Nothing's going to stop you straight away. So that's how I stay passionate about my job. And also, by the way, if you begin to step back, you actually really want to go back, which makes it really good. But if you stay in something prolonged amount of time, if I went, my analogy here is about running because I like to put things in different perspectives to make people see things from different perspectives. If I just continually run for a long time, I would probably hurt myself or I'd get like really bored of it and it's not going to go well. But if I have some space, a day or 2, then I'm still going to keep the passion there and actually have more passion because I'm actually allowing myself more time between the things that I love. Okay, let's go to the next one. So Brandon says, Joseph, first I need to say thank you for all your help. Can you give me some insight on bipolar, rapid cycling, mixed states? So it's something that I don't really work with as such, because bipolar is a little bit beyond my scope. But what I do is, when I have worked with people, when I've had permission from doctors and things like that, I always try to resolve the conflict within that. So you see, we're going from back to forth. And once again, I'm no doctor, I'm no psychiatrist. There's just my experience, and you don't have to take it on as truth whatsoever. As I said, I'm not a doctor, but ultimately, we're going from back and forth, like the yin and yang, the opposites. And what I would like to do is try to resolve the conflict between the two by preserving learnings, always asking, what can I learn from this? What can I grow from this? How can I get into a piece. Like meditation, for example, brings harmony and balance into your system. So when we go through times, we begin to stay steady and congruent as to where we're heading. So the same thing for hypnosis is a great way of relaxing yourself and recalling those states. So when you start to get into one or the other, you're starting to get yourself back out. And then when you start to get that more balance and that congruency, you will then retrain up your mind to automatically go there far quicker than ever before. So I hope that helped. Okay, so Monica said about the sleep. There's a second question. I think I put too much pressure on myself to sleep, and then I don't sleep. Oh, of course, and that's absolutely true, because you know what? Going to sleep is not a conscious process. It's like trying to consciously ride a bike or drive or walk. We are terrible at it because it's not a conscious process. So sometimes we need to get out the way, and that's why I said like kind of slowing down the voice when it comes to insomnia, or the breathing techniques get you out of it because you're breathing and that's all you're focusing on, and that will start to make a change. Or if you listen to one of my hypnosis tracks, as I mentioned, that starts to get the unconscious mind to do its natural behavior of going to sleep. Okay, so thank you for all the wonderful comments, by the way. Hey, great to have you, Brandon, Mind Mastery member. Okay, so Josh said, another Mind Mastery member, when you've found your purpose, the one goal that one goal that you feel is what you do with your life, and due to circumstances beyond your control, I'm trying to read this at the same time as things scrolling. So let me just start that one again. So when you have found your purpose, the one goal that you feel is what you want to do with your life, then due to circumstances beyond your control, accident or disability, you physically cannot progress with it, what is the best process to let go and move on? So let me think about that one for a moment. I love these because it really makes me think, and I love that. So I always believe in behavioral flexibility. You see, we are survivors. We have, and by we, I mean us now and also generations back. Many things species have died out because they weren't able to adapt. Now, I've seen people do, I'm trying to think of the right workout, but like press-ups and the push-up kind of things, whatever that is. And they are being able to do it without sometimes only one limb. They're able to like do real heavy squats with heavy racks on them. And it's just like crazy to watch these people, but they are becoming flexible. You see these Olympics where they've got people with disabilities and so on, and they're thriving still. So it's about modification, and it's about changing things. For example, there was a great hypnotherapist called Milton Erickson. Now, Milton Erickson had trying to think what it's called now. I speak about this all the time. I should remember. He had actually polio when he was young, and also some other things when he got older, and he began to lose his ability to be able to gesture and everything like that. So he began to use different parts of how he began to speak, and also different parts with his body to be able to speak to that person and put them into trance. So he was modifying his behavior to still reproduce the same results. You see, anything can change. And also another example, when my nan had cancer, because of an operation, something happened, she wasn't able to know when she was going to the loo and going to the restroom and so on. And that was very anxious for her because obviously it could be quite embarrassing. So when my dad worked with her, he ultimately done hypnosis to be able to get her mind to give her a signal when it's time. So not the usual signal, but a different signal for a thought or a feeling. So we can begin to map the way the mind works, so she was able to go to the loo in time with ease and be okay with that, because we're just retraining. And that's not weird woo la la stuff. It sounds weird, but the brain has an amazing ability to be able to make those kind of differences. And it's been proven over and over again when people have had certain brain damage in parts of the brain is being able to reroute down a new way. So in generally, it's about behavioral flexibility, using what you've got and then expanding other parts of what you've got. So that's what I would tend to go for. Okay. How to say you're going to do something and actually do it instead of starting things and not finishing them? Well, I would really go to that second question there. So, or the second part of it. So why what is the reason as to why we stop finishing things? And usually it's because, well, there's a few things as to why we don't finish things. It's because we maybe enjoy starting but not finishing. There's maybe not enough value behind it. So what I like to do is begin to imagine myself having completed the task and how good it feels to having achieved and completed the task, which makes me want to do it. Where usually we're starting things and we can lose momentum, we can get bored, or we can get like distracted, and that gets us off track. So what I try to do is hallucinate the actual final step of having achieved my goal, and then I think, well, I'm going to feel so much better, and it makes me want to do it. Because I have big projects, lots of things happening at different times, and that is what I tend to do, and that really motivates me. It makes me want to do it. I don't think about the struggle as much. I don't think about what I've got to do, because a lot of things I do is very challenging. I mean, it's very I work sometimes 10, 12 hours a day, which I've been doing recently because I've just been very busy. And I've got this thing of like, I just want to get it done because it feels so good doing it and having achieved it. So there's satisfaction built in actually finishing the project. So that is what I do, is I really build in the emphasis of having finished the project, which makes me want to finish it. Okay, so someone says, I have issues opening up and trusting people and making new relationships. How does one change this? I actually referred to this in a previous question, and it was ultimately like letting down walls is really understanding that it's a safety mechanism, and we've got to ask ourselves, well, how can I be safe in a different way? And what I'm doing right now by not getting into new relationships is not a very nice thing, which doesn't make me feel good, which doesn't make me psychology good, my psychological mindset good, which is kind of damaging really to our emotional happiness, which is actually not being safe, right? So we've got to retrain our mind to be able to become more safe and get our unconscious mind to realize that there's not a safe way of being in the world. So you have to begin to tap into, how else can I be safe? How else? And once again, I'm going to repeat it very quickly because it's at the beginning of this. How can I do small steps? Sometimes a big step of being very vulnerable or opening up and trusting people, because maybe we've been hurt in the past and all those things, is too much of a big leap. So start small. The small steps create the big leaps. So how can you start to open up in a small way? How can you start to trust people in a small way? Build belief in the small things, and then the big times when you get into proper relationships and so on, it's going to feel so much nicer. Okay. Once again, thank you ever so much for the kind comments. Great, that is awesome. I have the fear of being hurt in relationships, always sabotage what can I do just to relax and not have expectations? Okay, so I want you to become at peace with sometimes of a self-sabotage. So the reasons why we self-sabotage is, once again, protection. We're trying to not do something, so we're just going to self-sabotage straight away. So I would get on a piece of paper all the reasons as to why you self-sabotage. What is the thing behind that, which is really making you not want to get into a relationship? Because a part of you does and a part of you doesn't. I want to focus on the part which doesn't want to get in relationships, and I'll focus on what's that all about, uncover it, and then also realize that sometimes we'll have to give in to, because every goal in mind or achieved will actually have some drawbacks. And it's just the way it is. If you want to be a celebrity, the chances are you're going to lose some privacy. If you want to be a celebrity, you're going to probably lose some friends or gain friends which aren't always going to be the best type of friends. So I've become at peace with some things which I may lose, and also work on how, once again, to get the safety. How can I get safe in a different way? Just like the previous couple of questions. Okay, so Tracy said, my partner is a great man, but he has a difficulty socially being accepted due to his quite weird personality. LOL. He's not confident to get a new job. How do I help him towards that? Well, what I would do is I would get him onto my hypnosis, my confidence, and get him to realize, or get him to like generally ask questions. Ask questions. Well, how would you like to feel different? Does he know he's got... I'm not even going to say he's got an issue, because if it's not an issue for him, it's not an issue. But if he generally knows he's got something that he wants to let go of, I would start to retrain the mind using my work, the hypnosis and so on. And we can still embrace the weird personality. It makes us very unique, but also how we can adapt ourselves into certain settings. Once again, being flexible in how we are in certain ways. So I would definitely begin to introduce him to hypnosis. It's not kind of telling someone what to do, but just saying your value, what you've benefited from it, and how it could help that person. And also, if they begin to see you change, I'm sure they're going to ask you how they can do that as well. So I've got lots of hypnosis tracks for getting more confidence. My complete confidence program, rock solid confidence in every way. Great. Once again, thank you ever so much for the wonderful questions. Okay, heading back into the workforce after being a full-time mum. How do you express ambition and the need for increased responsibility while not letting others doubt your ability because of your life? There's a little bit more here as well. Oh, and there's a thank you. Okay, so when it comes to other people, I'm going to be right real straight with you. Other people's opinions are none of your business. They really aren't. They're none of your business whatsoever. People will try to bring you down. Some people will say, oh, you should just, why do you want to get back into saying you're a full-time mum or you've been doing this role for so long? You are not your role. You are not. With so many roles, you may be a mother, for some people it'll be a father, it'll be a husband, wife, brother, sister. We cannot be judged by one role, and we can have flexibility to do whatever we want. So the first wake-up call for you, Natalie, is that other people's opinions for you or expectations of you, all those things is none of your business or their business. You just have to get on with your own business and do what you want. At the end of the day, if you want to be happier, you do what you love. If you're doing what you love, it makes you happier, which also means other people will get the value of that too. So that means it's a win-win-win situation for you, for others, and just the whole world. So really, it's none of your business, what other people think of you. It's none of their business. Ultimately, I know they try to project certain things there, but it's just none of the, not needed to even worry about. I know it's easy for me to say, but trust me, I have had lots of people come up against me. I get negative comments, but to be honest, that is none of my business. That is their issue. It's not my issue at all. If some people has certain ideas of how I should look, how I should talk, what I should do, how I should be giving more for free and all those things, none of my business. My business is what I'm going to work on, being the most happiest person I can be, doing what I love. Now, if that is your ambition to be able to get it into the workforce again, then absolutely embrace it, love it. And once you start to thrive in it and become really congruent in it, oh, I've disconnected once again on the Facebook. Hopefully it'll come back in a second. Okay, I'm back on Facebook. So ultimately, you just embrace and just be authentic. If you're authentic, people will begin to see that and actually want to be like you too. Great. So, thank you, Joseph. You have not only changed my life, but have also taught me how powerful the mind. Oh, that was just a wonderful comment. Thank you ever so much, Brandon. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's see. Excuse me, guys, if you're listening to this in a podcast in a future thing, I'm just trying to read all these things. Will this video be available afterwards? Will it be available on my podcast and on YouTube? And also it stays on Facebook. Okay. So I have so many things I need to work on. Often don't know what to do first, but would it be safe to say it pretty much boils down to the positive thinking, and that should be my priority to work on? Yes, positive thinking is good, but I would go by feelings. How do you want to feel most? And then start to do more of that. The more you feel, the more positive you think. It's far easier to feel a certain emotion rather to think something positive. So I'd focus on feelings. What feeling would you like to experience most? And then I would do whatever it takes to feel that feeling in the most wonderful way. I have an adult child who is an addict, and where she has kicked it for the most part of occasionally she will drink and fall back. How can I see as a mum stop having such chest pains and worry over it? That's a very tricky question, because obviously we are connected with that person, but we also have to begin to have a mind shift. So my Facebook's disconnected again. Okay, I'm back again. So, let's go for it again. So sometimes we've got to disconnect from those we love, in not like completely disconnect, but also realize that everyone's going through their own journey. We can support them and we can become an example of how we would like them to be, but also realize that people can trip up and that's okay sometimes. I mean, the whole idea is to not really focus on the trip, but it's also to focus on how far they've come already. So if they've kicked it for the most part, that is awesome. Celebrate that, embrace that, and then begin to just focus on that. And then realize sometimes people will make mistakes, but as long as they're learning and growing from it, as long as we can support them in the most wonderful way and they're happy for that support and we can inspire them to be that way and really put yourself out there, then you will begin to start to dissociate that panic and realize it's their journey, they're learning, they're growing, and it's a hiccup sometimes, it happens. That's what we just have to do. Okay, so I hope that helped. Okay, I can go to sleep with a positive mindset, but I wake up in the morning and it's Groundhog Day. Any tips? Okay, so what we have to do is get our mind in the right mindset when we wake up. You see, life is really about not just in the evening, not just as when we go to sleep, but actually throughout the day. Now, of course, the more we get into this kind of mindset of personal growth and really getting to yourself to where you want to be, then things will begin to change. But sometimes we have to start from the beginning of our day to set it up. So we begin to listen to certain things to inspire us. I like to watch motivational things. I like to just listen to music, which makes me sing. We got to change our state as quickly as possible. Sometimes we go hallucinate how we'd actually want to be, and that's going to begin to change our state. So, and also what I really love is changing my mindset is about changing my state. How do I change my state? I've become grateful for what I've had. Even as grateful that I had a positive mindset yesterday evening. I'm going to start with that one, and then I'm going to start with other positive things I can be grateful for as well. So once I get in an attitude of gratitude, you'll begin to make that change. How can I help someone who is in a state of grief? Okay, so grief is one of those things which is a personal thing, and sometimes people need time to grieve. And we've got to be at peace with that. It is a natural process we go through. Now, if they want help with grief, then that is a different thing altogether. You see, grief is an association in the mind. So how we associate with that person or that thing, because it can be like losing a business, that can be a grief. Losing a job, that can be grief as well. So depending what it is, it's about changing our association to that thing or that person or that situation. Now, I actually have a great grief process on my app, which is going to be very valuable. So I'd look on that. It's on the free section. Just type in grief. That's going to really help. And ultimately, what I'm doing in that audio is to be able to change your perspective, release some negative associations or things which are not holding us, and also to be able to learn how we can actually see things different. I actually have a hypnosis track for that as well, I believe. I've got so many, it's hard to keep count, but it's a grief process, which is just changing the association, keeping the good things and moving on in the most wonderful way where we can still feel good. The way I like to see it sometimes is when it comes to grief, when we have all that hurt and that pain and that loss, it's not very good for ourselves because it hurts physically and mentally. Like depression is a physical thing too. So I would definitely consider my end goal for someone like that is to be able to look at that person or that situation and realize it was a wonderful experience. And it's like seeing an old friend from school. Like you have no negative feelings. You just feel, oh, that's an old friend from school. I don't see them ever, but I feel good about them. That's where I like to try to take people, but obviously in a bit more intimate way with whatever they're grieving over, so they can really start to make that change. Okay, so yeah, and someone else said as let me just see. Okay, so wonderful comments. Great. Okay, so that is the last question so far. So, okay, there's one more about the app this time. So they purchased an additional track and it will not show up in the app. So you got to make sure you're signed into your account there. If you're on the iPhone, you just go to let me see in my mind. You go to the About page, and then you go to Options at the top right-hand corner, and then you go to Restore Purchases. And also on the Google app, you just sign into your Google Play that you signed, and it should be there. Any problems, send me an email, and myself or Sarah can help you with that. Okay. Thank you so much for your knowledge and insight. You're so positive and you tell it like it is. You always help me. Oh, that's great. Thank you ever so much, Mary. I really appreciate that. Great. I think I'm going to stop it here. We're at 32 minutes. Here's the thing, guys. If you want more of things like this, If you actually want to speak to me on the phone as well, that's the main thing. Go to www.josephclough.info/mind mastery. I got a brand new video there explaining exactly how to get to the core of your issue and give you some real home truths, the way I like to say it, which is going to inspire you. It's going to push up against some of your values in the most wonderful way, and it's also going to get you to the core of your issue, so then we can begin to work together. So it's a great presentation as to getting clear on the core of your issue, because many people work on their symptoms, and symptoms don't actually, you let go of a symptom, the core is still there, and you're going to start generating more symptoms or the same symptom in a different fashion. So what I like you to do is go to www.josephclough.info/mind mastery, and you will be able to see that video, which will get you to the core of your issue, and also, like I said, some real key points which will cause you to make changes. That is what I'm here for. There is an offer on the page, so I can actually coach you on the phone or online ultimately, but obviously verbally we're speaking to each other on that kind of level. So I can actually ask you questions, you can ask me questions, and I can actually, rather just reading quick comments or even sometimes missing the comments, I get to speak to you in person, and also you get access to all my work. That is where I'm putting all my energy. So if that is of interest to you, at the very least, just to watch that video, which is getting to the core of your issue, go to www.josephclough.info/mind mastery. That is where you're going to make the most wonderful changes. So I look forward to speaking to you guys on another episode. I'm not going to redo many of these Q&As because it is for Mind Mastery members. Well, there's a far smaller level to that point, but ultimately, Mind Mastery is where they really get to communicate with me, but I do like to answer the questions here and there. So that's really what I'm about. But usually I like to speak about a topic with you and then answer a few of them. And then Mind Mastery, I get to personally coach you to where you want to be. And also, you really get to make changes in every way. So guys, have a most wonderful day. I look forward to speaking to you soon.